Hello, YouTube. I bet you're wondering why I'm wearing this. Well, main reason I wore it that long was just so I'd have an interesting icon when you saw it. But anyway, GQPrepper has posed an interesting question, and that one is, what topic do you think is not being addressed enough in a lot of the prepping videos? Well, guess what? I think it has to do a little bit with protective masks, gas masks, and the type of protection you would have against a chemical threat of one or another. Now, this little toy I have here is the M40 gas mask. This used to be used a lot by the U.S. military. They're actually upgrading it now, and this was one I managed to get at a surplus shop. And one of my jobs in the military used to be that as a chemical officer. So this is something I've been trained with and something I have extensive knowledge with. So I was able to take an old surplus gas mask and I repaired, added a new filter to it, and put in some of the internal parts that were missing. Um, it cost a little bit more because I had to hunt around for the parts, but I managed to get a working gas mask. And this is something I think hasn't really been addressed a lot in a lot of the prepping videos that are out there, mainly because there's not a lot of information out there. And it is something, and I kind of blame myself. This is something I'm an expert on, and I actually should be talking a lot more about. Um, there's always going to be some sort of threat where you would want a protective mask. Not only in civil disturbance, riot type situations, but emergencies. If there's ever a disaster, most likely to be a man-made disaster, where there is a chemical threat or some sort of uh, a contamination hazard, it's in your best interest to protect yourself. Now, the most likely, threat would be from, some sort of chemical attack. And there is actually some limitations to this. And for example, when I was in Iraq, we actually got hit with some WMD. You don't hear a lot about this, but it's not the WMD you're thinking of. What our enemy was actually doing was making IEDs and attaching chlorine canisters to them. They stole some chlorine canisters from a water treatment facility, and they actually put them with the IEDs. When they blew up, they hoped to add to the hazard of the IED itself. Now, something a lot of people don't know, these gas masks, they don't protect you from chlorine. Chlorine actually breaks down the filters and it corrodes the metal. Now, it'll protect you until you get out of the threat, but your main, uh, the main plan should be to get out of the hazard area. These work well against a nerve agent, of course, tear gas or pepper spray or something like that. Um, but it's important to know the type of threats that are out there. If there's a radiation threat, something like this may not be as useful as other ways to protect yourself, mainly because radiation travels in particles, and the particles would be concentrated in the filter, which is located right next to your face. So you'd have a big radiation collection point right here. In that instance, you'd want to use some sort of damp cloth or something over your face to absorb the particles, but something you can discard and replace regularly. So, it's worth learning a lot about. Now, you can learn a lot, of course, on the internet. There are some books out there. But again, this is something that's not addressed a lot. So I think a lot of people, it'd be in their best interest to study up on that. Now, I actually also talked to some friends, and they're like, "Oh, I'm prepped. I got a gas mask," and they will have these cheap disposable gas masks that aren't made to any military standards. Plus, they won't have enough for their whole family, and that's something to consider too. How you want to protect your family. I mean, duct tape and plastic sheets can only protect you for so long. So, have a plan in a chemical attack. You want to go towards the wind, away, or depending where the hazard is, away from the wind. Just just if you want the chemicals behind you, the contamination behind you, as you're moving away. You don't want it following you where you go. So it's important to know how the type of hazard reacts to the wind. Um, anyway, if you have any questions about anything particular, you can ask me below. None of it's classified or anything, and I'm happy to share what I do know. And of course, any research you do on your own is in your best interest. But I just want to answer GQPrepper's question. It's a very good question because it gets people thinking about what they don't know. Anyway, again, I look forward to your comments below. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of my friend right here. All right, talk to you later. OIFEagle, out.